related to Tattva Vimarsha, that is, we would like to, or we will be going ahead with different tattvas, what we are essentially trying to understand regarding the universe and the parts of the universe and how universe is made up of. There are multiple concepts, multiple siddhantas, which we have already discussed. And along with it, we are trying to understand various scenarios and various concepts and siddhantas provided by other thinkers and philosophies. So, up till now, we have discussed somewhat from the Vaisheshik Darshana, from Sankhya Darshana. Also, we have discussed some, not in big long lengths, but with about the Kashmir Shaivism, where there is Shiva Tattva and Shri Tattva and Shakti Tattva and all those things. We have also discussed something about the Brahman, the concept of Brahman. So, along with it, we are essentially required to understand the theory of creation or related subject with the help of Vedic understanding. So, in this particular course, we also require to understand the tattvas prescribed by the Vedic period literature or literature of Vedas. Before that, we have already studied regarding the Vedic literature. What are we supposed to call as Vedic literature? So, Vedic literature is nothing but the main basic four Vedas, that is, the names are Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda and Atharvaveda. Then there is a level of Upaveda. Upaveda, that is the essential part of the Vedas, which are called as Upavedas. So for Rigveda's Upaveda, it is Dhanurveda. Then Sthapatya Veda is the Upaveda of Yajurveda. Then Gandharva Veda, it is the Upaveda of Samaveda. And Ayurveda, it is the Upaveda of Atharvaveda. So in Rigvedic texts, we come across many suttas which give us the understanding about the theory of creation. And one of the important suttas which give us this understanding is Nasadiya Sutta. So we will discuss Nasadiya Sutta in length in this particular class. If it is possible today, we will discuss it today. Otherwise, in coming class, we will have some understanding about the Nasadiya Sutta. There is one sutta called as Vagamrunya Sutta. Vagamrunya Sutta is also a sutta from Rigveda, which also gives us understanding about the tattvas, that is one of the important tattva of the universe itself.
Did you write the name?
Yes, I write down the name. One is Nasadiya Sutta. There is Vagamrunya Sutta. Then we will also see some of the Upanishads, and Upanishad is understanding about the tattvas. As we had seen earlier, like Vedanta Darshan or Vedanta Tattvas, Vedanta is nothing but Upanishad. Whatever understanding provided to us by Upanishads are the Vedantic understanding. And there we come across such theories of creation as well as we come across various tattvas we are essentially required to understand. So that will also be done in coming days, coming classes. Before we start going through the independent or individual sutras, it is very essential that we should understand what are we going to do, or rather what we have for our studies. When we say Veda, do we have exact understanding what Vedas are? Do we have that?
Vedas they are meant to be, they are said to be Shruti, which was heard by the, which was insights had by the rishis in their meditations.
Basically, Vedas are the collection of verses which are supposed to be envisioned by the Rishi. The word Rishi itself means the one who has envisioned the things. Is a visionary in a way. So Rishehe Darshana is the etymology of the word Rishi. So it is considered that Rishis have envisioned the verses of the suttas, and when those verses are collected, they are collected in the form of the suttas. These suttas are created out of ruchas. Normally what we call it as a shloka. So when we say there is a shloka is that poetic form. And that poetic form, when it is from the Vedic literature, it is called as rucha. The individual independent rucha is the shloka from the sutra. When many of these ruchas are come together, collected together, they are called, the one particular thing is called as sutta. So suttas are made up of multiple ruchas. And individual rucha is envisioned by Rishi. That is how the structure goes. The Rigveda itself has multiple structures, like there is a mandal structure. There are mandals. Mandal after mandal comes up, and then the whole mandal structure forms a unit. Then there are these suttas in it. So there are suttas also, there are mandals also. And there are the form of the books, how it is seen, how it is created. So Nasadiya Sutta is coming from the 10th mandala. It is the mandala considered to be very old. So much old that it is difficult to point out at what time this particular sutta was envisioned or collected in a way. It's very difficult to even formulate the time period of Vaghamruniya Sutta as well, because we don't know who is the visionary of this particular sutta, because it is said that Vak, who is the daughter of Ambruni Rishi, is the creator of or envision of this visionary of this particular sutta. आम्भ्रूणी ऋषि की जो कन्या है उसका नाम वाक है, और उस वाक के द्वारा इस वागामुनिया सूक्त की रचना की गई है. सो ऐसी अवस्था में इन दिस पर्टिकुलर सिनारियो इट इज कंसिडर्ड दैट वाक इज द लेडी हु इज सेइंग दिस पर्टिकुलर सूक्त. उसकी जो धारणा है, what she has thought about herself, what she sees herself as, that is being described in Vagamogya Sutta. Vagamogya Sutta gives us understanding about the female perspective described in Vedic literature. Now, in Vedas, we come across quite a lot female personalities. Okay? Some of the personalities are associated with the Devas, like Indrani. Indrani is the wife of Indra. So, there are personalities which are, or rather who are associated with specific devatas or devas. Now, what is devas? देव क्या है? देव ये भी एक तत्व है, देव ये भी एक तत्व ही है। तो उन देवताओं के विषय में ज्ञान पाना भी हमारी एक वृत्ति होनी चाहिए। अगर हम तत्व विमर्श के विद्यार्थी हैं तो हमें देवता तत्व के बारे में भी जानकारी होनी आवश्यक है। तो देव ये संकल्पना क्या है?
ये संस्कृत सूत्र के अनुसार देखा जाए तो द्यू धातु से बना शब्द देव और व्याख्या द्यू नाम क्रीड़ा विनिविषा व्यवहार द्युति स्तुति मोद मद स्वप्न कांति गतिषु।
Absolutely.
The one who has all this quality or some of them, some qualities in it.
So basically दिव धातु से जब देव ये शब्द बनता है तो दिव धातु का अर्थ है तेजस्वी। तो those who are तेजस्वी, जिनके पास तेज है, उन्हें देव कहा गया है। So the personality is very simple, like the one who has तेज in him, उन्हें देव कहा गया है। तो similarly the female entity which has this kind of quality is a devata. So in Vedic period we see जो भी तेजस्वी है उनमें पुरुष भी है और उनमें स्त्रियां भी है, परंतु जो स्त्री किसी देवता से संबंधित है, जैसे कि इंद्राणी जिसका संबंध इंद्र से, तो वो इंद्र की पत्नी हुई। इसी प्रकार देवों की पत्नियों का संदर्भ हमें वैदिक लिटरेचर में, वैदिक साहित्य में मिलता है। लेकिन साथ ही हमें कई पर्सनालिटीज ऐसे भी मिलते हैं, कई व्यक्तिमत्व ऐसे भी मिलते हैं कि वो स्त्रियों के व्यक्तिमत्व है, परंतु वो किसी देव से संबंधित नहीं है, वो स्वतंत्र है। जब भी हम सोशियोलॉजिकल पर्सपेक्टिव से वैदिक साहित्य की ओर देखते हैं, when we look at Vedic literature with the sociological point of view, it is astonishing that we could see the independent female personalities not associated with some male personality, and they have been given the similar importance as they have given the importance to the male personality who are independent. So we have got female personalities who are independent, जो स्वतंत्र है, जो किसी पर अवलंबित नहीं है, जो परतंत्र नहीं है, और उनके विचारों को भी उतना ही महत्व दिया गया है जितना के स्वतंत्र पुरुष देवताओं के या देवों के मतों को दिया गया है। This has to be understood precisely with respect to Vedic literature, because this particular aspect is not very well discussed. क्योंकि कई बार ऐसा कहा जाता है कि वेदों में इस प्रकार से लिखा गया है, इस प्रकार से कोई मत व्यक्त किया गया है, जो मत सर्वसाधारण रूप से देखा जाए तो किसी एक व्यक्ति की अपेक्षा या किसी एक पर्सनालिटी की अपेक्षा या किसी एक लिंग के आधार पर अयोग्य है, ऐसा माना जाता है। लेकिन कई बार जब कोई इस प्रकार से मत प्रदर्शित करता है, तब ऐसा समझ में आता है कि उन्होंने योग्य प्रकार से वेदों के साहित्य का परीक्षण या उसका जो अभ्यास है वो किया नहीं है। क्योंकि वागांगुण्य सूक्त यही एक बात दर्शाता है कि वाक् नामक स्वतंत्र देवता द्वारा जो भी एक मत व्यक्त किया गया है, उस मत को वैदिक साहित्य में स्थान देने का कार्य वैदिक काल में हुआ है। जैसे जब इंद्राणी के विषय में कोई भी बात कही जाती है, तब उस आधार पर इंद्र की जो प्रोमिनेंस है, इंद्र की जो महत्ता है, उसी के आधार पर इंद्राणी की महत्ता बताई जाती है। वो महत्वपूर्ण क्यों है? क्योंकि वो इंद्र की पत्नी है। लेकिन उसी समय किसी भी असाधारण देव से संबंधित न होने पर भी वाक् नामक आम्भूणी की कन्या का जो महत्व वैदिक सूत्रों में बताया गया है, और वो महत्व स्वयं वाक् के स्वयं की जो धारणा है उसे अगर दर्शाता है, और उसका अंतर्भाव अगर वैदिक साहित्य में किया गया है, तो उसे कितना महत्व दिया है ये हम समझ सकते हैं। आखिरकार हम देखेंगे कि वैदिक साहित्य जो है वो जो वेद के सूक्तों से बना हुआ है, उन अलग अलग सूक्तों का कलेक्शन करके वेदों की संहिताएं बनाई गई है। Whatever we say, like Rigved, Yajurved, Atharvaved, Samaved, all these are basically nothing but samhitas. What is the meaning of the word samhita? Samhita means collection, that which has been collected in one form, that is called as samhita. Now samhitas normally have one particular subject, और उसे लेकर उसकी जो उनके जो सूक्त है उनको एक समान लेकर उनका एक कलेक्शन करना, ये उस संहिता का कार्य है। तो ऋग्वेद संहिता में अगर वागांगुण्य सूक्त का अंतर्भाव हुआ है, तो उसे उतनी महत्ता देने की कारण ही उसका अंतर्भाव इस संहिता में किया गया है। अगर वो इतना महत्वपूर्ण न लगता तो उसे संहिता में स्थान ही नहीं मिलता। तो ये जो समावेशकता की बात हम करते हैं, इवन अ पर्सन इज पुटिंग फॉरवर्ड his or her own thought, which is not directly connected with the thoughts expressed by the other personalities. So there has to be some difference, say like difference of opinion. In spite of those difference of opinion, the understanding of that particular lady who is independent, who is not associated with any of the devas or devatas, her understanding is included in Vedic Samhita, and that too in Rigveda. It is very essential, it is very important. Those collectors have given importance for those thoughts put forward by the independent female personality of that time. I want to bring your mind in with that perspective. जब हम इस प्रकार से उस सूक्त की तरफ देखते हैं, then you tend to understand the sutta with a different perspective. It is not only related with the words in which the sutras are presented, but you can have the understanding behind those words. Because those understanding behind the words is nothing but the perspective of that personality who has put forward that sutra. So that kind of understanding, it is very important when we try and understand the tattva put forwarded by that independent lady in her sutta. Okay? So, we will definitely talk about the sutta and what her ideas about in great detail. But before we take actually the sutta, I would like to have the perspective understanding from your side. Because every time, whatever subject we are going to learn, the perspective with which we are learning that particular subject is very important. There are multiple ways with which the subject can be studied. One of the things is whatever text we have in front of us, go through that text, understand the text, and then understand the subject. Because the text deals with the subject. Then there is another perspective. Why particular text is created for a particular subject by a particular person having a particular background. So that particular text carries the perspective of the creator, the one who has written it. The one who has written it has a specific background which gives rise to the personality's understanding about a particular subject. So there are multiple ways by way of which you are supposed to understand the whole subject. When you go through this kind of process, then you tend to understand the subject with multiple facets. In our understanding, that is in Indian perspective of understanding, it is considered with the example or analogy of Karatala Amala Kavat. What is the meaning of it? Karatala is base of oven. If we have, Karatala is palm. If we have the fruit of Amalaki on our palm, so we can have a vision, we can have a look at it from all corners of sight, with all corners. And we will be able to understand the Amalaki fruit as it is. We know what is from the upper side how it looks, from the bottom side how it looks, from the sides how it looks. And then we have the understanding about the whole fruit. Similarly, the subject has to be studied Karatala Amalakava, just like having a fruit in our hand. Similarly, the subject has to be studied from all corners of it, with all perspective. And once we do that, then there is no stone unturned. Everything we think of, if we think about every aspect of it, then the subject is learned the holistic way. And that is what is essential for every subject, including what we are trying to study. So similarly, the 10th mandala of Rigveda gives us the Nasadiya Sutta. Now, in case of Vagamrunya Sutta, we know that Vagamrunya Sutta is created by Vak. The name of the person is Vak. That's why the Sutta is called Vagamrunya. वाक इज फ्रॉम द अम्बुनी ऋषि की वो पुत्री है, इसलिए उसे वागामुनिया कहा गया। जैसे अम्बुनिया उसका उपनाम हो गया, जिसे मराठी में आडनाव कहते हैं। तो सिमिलरली नासदीय सूक्त के बारे में जब हम देखते हैं तब उसके कर्ता का नाम कहीं नहीं आता है। We don't know who has created it. So how the name नासदीय come into picture? नासदीय सूक्त को नासदीय ये नाम क्यों दिया गया है? क्योंकि उनके पहले जो शब्द है वो नासद ये शब्द है। जैसे वागामुनिय के कर्ता के बारे में हमें ज्ञान है, इसलिए उस सूक्त का नाम वागामुनिय सूक्त रखा गया है। लेकिन नासदीय सूक्त के बारे में हमें जानकारी नहीं है कि उसका कर्ता कौन है, इसलिए उस सूक्त का पहला शब्द जो है उस शब्द से वो सूक्त जाना जाता है। उसका पहला शब्द जो है वो नासद है। तो नासद आदि शब्दों से बना हुआ सूक्त नासदीय सूक्त। तो ये नासदीय,
And the word is नासत।
नासत ये पहला शब्द है, और नासद आदि, नासद आदि, नासद आदि, तो नासदीय सूक्त। सो नासदीय सूक्त के बारे में उसके कर्ता ने कहीं अपना नाम भी नहीं दिया। नासदीय सूक्त का पहला जो सूक्त है, पहली जो ऋचा है वो नासद यहाँ से शुरू होती है। ना सदा सिंधो सदा सित तदा नीना दिव्य जोनो व्योमा परो, इस प्रकार से वो सूक्त आगे चलता है। ना असत, सृष्टि के पहले सत नाम की कोई चीज नहीं थी, कोई वस्तु नहीं थी, और कोई असत भी नहीं था। इस प्रकार से ये सूक्त की शुरुआत होती है। तो सृष्टि के पहले कुछ था भी नहीं, और इस अवस्था से सृष्टि की निर्मिति तक जो भी प्रक्रिया है उस प्रक्रिया का वर्णन नासदीय सूक्त में होता है। What we are trying to do right now is to understand the background about the two important suttas we are going to learn. We have not yet started with actual learning of the suttas, but once we understand the whole background, it becomes easier for us to start the actual suttas, what has been given in those suttas, and then what we are supposed to understand from that sutta. Because in every sutta which we are trying to understand in this particular text, probably will have different meanings. One will be the background meaning of that particular sutta. Then there will be the meaning provided by the words of those suttas. Whatever words have been used in those suttas, accordingly we will understand the sutta. Then there is a possibility of the reading between the lines. When a particular statement is made by the particular creator of the sutta in a particular way, informing about a particular concept, what exactly it means by it? What exactly he or she means during that particular kind of explanation? What exactly it want to express, that we will understand. So once it is like we have some background, we have some understanding about the external part related with the sutta, the actual sutta understanding becomes easier. That's my understanding. So we will proceed the thinking on this particular line. So related to the Vedic literature, the next important part will be from the Vedantas. So there are couple of Upanishads we will try to study what exactly they provide, what exactly they tell us related to the tattvas. No? Mind this particular thing you have to understand right from the basic. Like when we say we are dealing with tattva, tattva is nothing but components of the universe. It has to be understood thoroughly because in that sense, everything is a part and parcel of this universe. Everything is a part and parcel of this particular field of creation. Because everything is a part and parcel of this universe, it is bound to be tattva. Either it is the basic tattva or it is going to be the formation of the tattva formed by the basic tattva. For example, the mountains, what we see outside in the universe, they are tattvas of the universe because they form the universe only, but they are the karya tattva. They have been created by something which is karana tattva. Now what is the difference between karya dravya and karana dravya? Dravya is the tattva. Dravya has got two types. One is karana dravya and the other is karya dravya. So, if at all dravya is to be understood, you have to understand the karya dravya, that is which is available everywhere, which can be easily seen, but also the karana dravya with which it has been created. So the mountains are created, so they are karya dravya, but they are created by which dravya, which is the karana dravya. Which can be that karana dravya? If mountains are the part and parcel of earth, so it has to be earth, that is Prithvi. Now let me tell you one scenario. For us, we are on earth, so we all are parthiva. Whatever is available or whatever has been created on earth becomes parthiva, right? Even though everything is parthiva, the whole Srushti is Panchabhautika. So whole Srushti has all the five major elements in it. We have seen about the creation of the major elements, right? You remember that?
Yes.
So technically, everything has five major elements in it. So how do we understand with what amount they are there in? Are you getting the question? If at all the things which are available in this universe have created with the five major elements, that means each and every tattva has got five major elements in it. At the same time, whatever is around us, everything has to be parthiva. So we all are parthiva. So how do we understand how much amount of Prithvi is in us and how much amount is the rest of the tattvas in us? That is the question. So for that, there is a concept, there is a Siddhanta. What that Siddhanta is? That is called as Panchikarana Siddhanta. So what is Panchikarana Siddhanta? Panchikarana Siddhanta gives us the mathematical understanding behind the Panchabhautikatva of the elements around us. Okay? So if at all Parthivatva is present in mountain. Every mountain is a Parthiva, but at the same time it is made up of 5 major elements. So how we are supposed to represent that amount? It has been given in our text with the help of Panchikaran Nyaya that if this is one element which is Parthiva in nature, it is on Prithvi, it is being created on Prithvi with Parthivatva at its maximum stage, like mountain. So when we say mountain is a Parthiva, it means according to Panchikaran Nyaya tells us that 50% is Prithvi. So remaining 4 Mahabhutas will be divided into remaining 50%, right? So remaining 50% अगर हमें और जो शेष 4 महाभूत है उनमें अगर हम डिवाइड करते हैं तो 12.5 so 1/8 आ जाएगा वहां पे, राइट? सो 1/8 of Akasha, 1/8 of Vayu, 1/8 of Teja, 1/8 of Jala, and half of the Prithvi will give rise to Parthiva Padartha according to Panchikaran Nyaya. According to the law of Panchikarana. So instead of Prithvi, if we have something Vayavya, in that case, what is going to be the scenario? 50% will be Vayu. And rest of the things will be 1/8. Right? So in case the element is Taijasa, with the help of Panchikarana, how can we represent it? 50% Teja and 1/8 of Akasha, 1/8 of Vayu, 1/8 of Jala, and 1/8 of Prithvi. Right? So this representation goes everywhere. So at this particular level of understanding, this Panchikarana is understood. No doubt in that.
Once again, suppose it's a volcano, then
Same, because volcano is a part and parcel of Prithvi, his creation.
that will have no age.
So it is required for us to understand whether volcanoes will be Parthiva or Taijasa. If that is decided, then representation through Panchikaran Nyaya is easy, isn't it? My question hereafter deals with that understanding which you asked. Right? Now, for example, there is a fire. Okay? So, when we say fire, then fire has to be represented in the form of Panchikaran. In that case, Tej becomes 50% and the rest of the Mahabhutas will be divided into 1/8 part of the circle, right? So the fire existed in this particular Srushti is represented by Panchikaran. As per Panchikaran Nyaya, with 50% of the Teja Mahabhut and rest of the area is represented by 1/8 area for each rest of the Mahabhuta. But you know the problem lies here is that the fire is present in this particular Prithvi, so the fire itself is going to be Parthiva. If fire is Parthiva, means the fire is Parthiva in nature, then it has to have 50% of the Prithvi in it. Then only it is going to be Parthiva, right? So, if at all everything is on Prithvi and everything that is on Prithvi is supposed to be Parthiva in nature because it is present on Prithvi, then if everything is to be Parthiva, then it has to have 50% of amount Prithvi in it. So in case of fire, how can we take 50% as Teja? Because when fire coming out of the wood is a Parthiva fire, then Parthivatva means 50% of Prithvi, immaterial of everything else. So there can be a problem in case of Panchikaran Nyaya with respect to understanding the Tattva. Have you understood the problem? If at all we are trying to understand what water is, like water from the water reservoir or water from the river, that river is present on Prithvi, that water is present on Prithvi, that water is created on Prithvi, so it is a Parthiv water. If it is Parthiv water, can we represent it in Panchikaran way? Because if it is a Parthiv water, then it should contain 50% of Prithvi. If it is 50% of Prithvi, how can we say that it is moving like a water? So there are some issues in Panchikaran Nyaya. So Panchikaran Nyaya is easier when we don't consider fire also as a Parthiv because it is present on earth. If we delete that concept, if we delete that understanding, then we can easily represent fire, which is present around us. So we have to give a different thought. I also have not yet given the thought how to represent Prithvi on Prithvi, water on water, or Prithvi, rather water on Prithvi, Teja on Prithvi. Parthiva Teja, this particular concept, तात्विक दृष्टि से देखा जाए तो ये कॉन्सेप्ट तो है, पर उसका जो रिप्रेजेंटेशन है पंचीकरण न्याय के आधार पर करना मुश्किल है, करना कठिन है.
Also, so how can it be like this exact percentages? That seems like
No, I didn't get you.
this 50% you have said will be, you know, Vayu, and then 1/8 will be the other elements. So, I mean, this could be just a theory, no? It is
theoretical. It is theoretical. But the practicality has to arrive through the theoretical aspect only. You cannot have practical aspect without the backing of the theory. So you always have to have theory. Now the thing is, there is a possibility to improve Panchikaran Nyaya. That possibility is there. That we have to think about. Up till now we don't know, anybody has thought about this kind of aspect in any text. I I never claimed, I can't claim that I have gone through all the literature. People must have thought about this. Because if we are in a position to come out with such query, then people earlier would also be able to do that.
Sure.
They might have done it. We don't know. Right now the situation is, for me, it's very difficult to give answer to this question. It's very difficult because I can't give answer. But I can certainly put forward the scenario where there is a problem for representing an element with the help of Panchikaran Nyaya. Got it? That is what I want to emphasize. Now, if we want to have a solution with it, then we have to change our perspective. This is my understanding. I'm not saying that is the solution. But then 50% can further divide into 50% of Prithvi and 50% of another element which is with which it is dealing with. For example, if water from the earth is to be represented, then the 50% of water again divided into 50% of Prithvi and 50% of water. That is the 25% of water and 25% Prithvi. Certainly that is one of the ways with which this particular problem can be solved. But then there will be the question of what should be the amount of 5 major elements in one particular substance. Right? Now this 1/8 of 50% becomes what? Around how much percentage it will be?
6.25. 6.25.
20%?
1/12.
1/8 of 50%.
Yeah. 1/8 of the whole 360. That is,
Okay.
360 is like
Ah.
20% of the whole thing, right? 50% and then whatever.
180.
I'm not doing maths, but then you do the maths.
45.
So accordingly, we have to decide with the percentage of it. So the 50% again further divided into the Prithvi and that particular. Like here, it is the whole Prithvi. But here, वायवीय अगर हम उसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, तो यहाँ पर अगर हमने कुछ चेंज करें, so this becomes 25%. ये पार्थिव है. So यहाँ पर भी पार्थिव होगा, यहाँ पर भी पार्थिव होगा. There will be some difference, right? But that particular thing will represent it as a parthivo, even though this 25% deals with the different element or different major element.
Sir, it will be a calculation error.
Huh?
It will be a calculation error in the sense that first time in principle we decided
Yes.
Sukshma Panchatattva and Sthula Panchatattva. Sukshma are the pure 100%, for example.
Yes.
Derived from the Prakriti.
Yes.
Prakriti from Prakriti, Akasha, Akash to Vayu, Vayu to Teja, Teja to Jala, and Jala to Prithvi.
Yes.
That is the Sukshma form and the pure 100%.
Yes.
Okay. From Sukshma generated the Sthula.
No,
Through the process of Panchikara.
Here,
Okay.
the concept should not be Sukshma and Sthula. Here the concept is very simple. It is Karana Dravya and Karya Dravya.
Even if we are not using that Sukshma and Sthula word, then also the pure 100% from that derived through the process of Panchikara we derived what is called as the adulterated. or
Yes,
mixed.
but then the issue is
Combined.
the issue is
whatever the name
what you are saying, the complete element. Like if we start with the anu, then two anus come together, they give rise to Dveduka. When 3 Dveduka comes together, they give rise to Trasarenu or Treduka. Likewise, when you feel that the Karana Dravya is produced, you are considering it as 100%, right?
Because it is generated down the
Yes, but that is right. What I am saying is right or not? According to you, 100% of Karana Dravya of say Prithvi is formed. What will be the stage of it? At what stage Karana Dravya is formed?
If we take the Advaita Vedantic Tattvaඥāna as the base, then from Prakriti generated the 100% pure
What do you mean
Avakasha.
by 100%? How much amount is considered as 100%?
Full, total.
That is what I am trying to understand from you. What you have understood with the totality.
So, when you divided the balance 50 into 25,
Yes.
the other 25 you also will have Prithvi.
That is what I said. That will make it Parthiva.
Yeah.
That is going to make it Parthiva.
25 is Parthiva. The other
No. That 25 at the bottom
Yeah.
plus 1/8 of the circle from upper side collectively giving rise to Parthivatva.
Yeah, but the value of 50% will also have one part of Parthiva, no? 25% of the other
Yes.
side. So
Yes.
Parthiva will keep increasing.
Because Parthiva, that makes the element Parthiva. Parthiva has to be more in amount. Otherwise, how can you call it Parthiva? You have, say, a green dress, but there are some white patches are also there, some red patches are also there. Collectively, when green patches are more in amount, the dress is called as green. Right? Similarly, in the Panchabhotika element, if one amount of the element is more than others, it bound to become, the element is bound to become from that particular element. So when Parthivatva is more, because we are considering the element from Prithvi itself, that's why Parthivatva has to be more every time. That is the scenario. If we don't see this, then this particular representation is of pure Vayaviya nature. It is like this. It is on Prithvi and from Prithvi. This is from Vayaviya Srushti. This is from Parthiva Srushti. This is from Vayaviya Srushti. So there is a concept in Vaisheshika Darshan which gives us the existence of possibility of the existence of, just like Parthiva Srushti, there is a Jaliya Srushti, there is a Vayaviya Srushti, there is a Tejasa Srushti. What it says while providing information about the 5 major elements, that is Dravya. There is a Dravya Prithvi, like we are Parthiva. So what it says, Tatra Gandhavati Prithvi, that which has got Gandha, which has got the quality of Gandha, is Prithvi. क्योंकि पृथ्वी का विशेष गुण गंध है. क्यों है? क्योंकि जब हमने सांख्य तत्व देखा है, सांख्य प्रणाली से जब हमने सृष्टि उत्पत्ति क्रम देखा है, उस वक्त हमने क्या देखा है? पंच तन्मात्रा में से जो गंध तन्मात्रा है, उससे पृथ्वी की निर्मिति होती है, पृथ्वी महाभूत की निर्मिति होती है. रिमेंबर दिस. तो पृथ्वी को जानने की कौन सी विधि है? तो जहां पर गंध ये गुण है वो पृथ्वी. इसलिए पृथ्वी की व्याख्या क्या हुई? तत्र गंधवती पृथ्वी. जिसका विशेष गुण गंध है वो पृथ्वी है. सा द्विविधा. पृथ्वी 2 प्रकार की है. सा द्विविधा. सा द्विविधा. नित्या अनित्या च. 2 प्रकार की है. एक नित्य पृथ्वी है
एक अनित्य पृथ्वी है। नित्या परमाणु रूपा, यहां पर आपका प्रश्न आ जाता है। नित्या परमाणु रूपा, जब कभी भी किसी भी महाभूत का परमाणु उत्पन्न होता है तभी वो पूर्ण है। तो एक परमाणु की जब उत्पत्ति होगी वो परमाणु पूर्णतया उस महाभूत का परमाणु होगा, वो पूर्ण ही है, क्योंकि वो कारण तत्व है, वो कारण पृथ्वी है। जैसे आप क्या कह रहे हो कि जब पृथ्वी महाभूत के परमाणुओं का जब निर्माण होकर दो अणु एक साथ होकर द्विणुक हो गए, द्विणुक से त्रिणुक हो गया या त्रिसरणुक हो गया, ऐसा करते करते आगे चलकर आपके हिसाब से, आपकी दृष्टि से पृथ्वी महाभूत बनेगा, ऐसा नहीं होता है। जब परमाणु बना तो पृथ्वी महाभूत बना। जब कई परमाणु साथ में आते हैं तो वो पृथ्वी का जो महाभूत है वो बनने के लिए नहीं आते हैं। जब पंचीकरण से पांचभौतिक वस्तु का निर्माण होता है तभी वो एक साथ आते हैं, क्योंकि तब वो कार्य द्रव्य बन जाते हैं। समझ रहे हैं? पंचीकरण के सिद्धांत से पांचों महाभूत एक साथ आकर कोई वस्तु या एलिमेंट बनता है, तभी वो एक साथ आएंगे, क्योंकि तब वो कार्य द्रव्य की संज्ञा प्राप्त करेंगे। कारण द्रव्य जो है वो परमाणु रूप में कारण द्रव्य है ही। परमाणु द्रव्य से या परमाणुओं के द्वारा कार्य या कारण द्रव्य से कार्य द्रव्य बनने की जो विधि है वो विधि परमाणु, द्विणु, त्रिसरेणु इस प्रकार से होती है। लेकिन कारण द्रव्य कब निर्माण होता है? जब अणु निर्माण हुआ तो कारण द्रव्य बना। एक अणु और द्विणु, उसमें फर्क क्या है? ये सिर्फ संख्या का फर्क है। लेकिन द्विणु तभी बनता है जब उससे आगे चलकर कार्य द्रव्य की निर्मित होगी, तब। कारण द्रव्य तो केवल अणु ही है ना। आप अगर द्विणुक भी कहेंगे तो वो दो अणु ही है।
तो सर वो अगर प्रिंसिपल हम एक्सेप्ट करते हैं तो आदि शंकराचार्य जी ने जो तत्वबोध में प्रकरण में कहा है वो हिसाब से तो पृथ्वी तत्व भी प्योर नहीं है, क्योंकि प्रकृति से अवकाश बना, आकाशात वायु। तो जैसे ही आकाश बना तो आकाश बना त्रिगुणात्मिका प्रकृति से, तो उसके गुण तो इसके अंदर आ गए, यानी कि प्रकृति जो है वो उसका कारण बना और ये बना कार्य।
एक सीधा सवाल, आई एम नॉट गोइंग अगेंस्ट शंकराचार्य और एनीथिंग। जब हम प्राकृतिक स्थिति का विचार करते हैं तो प्रकृति में क्या स्थिति होगी? जब प्राकृतिक अवस्था, ये अवस्था हम सोचते हैं, तब वो अवस्था किस प्रकार से हम वर्णन करेंगे उस अवस्था का?
यहाँ सत्व, रजस और तमस गुणों की साम्य अवस्था है।
सही बात। प्राकृतिक स्थिति क्या है? जब सत्व, रजत, तम इन त्रिगुणों की साम्यावस्था है। सही बात।
बराबर।
अब आप बताइए, अगर तीनों गुणों की साम्यावस्था है तब कोई अगली निर्मिति होने की संभावना है?
नहीं होगा।
नहीं होगी। तो जब आप कहते हो कि प्रकृति से आकाश बना है तो ये तो होना संभव ही नहीं है, क्योंकि जब तक त्रिगुणों में साम्यावस्था है तब तक कोई अगली निर्मिति होना संभव ही नहीं है। तो आकाश कैसे बना?
एको हम बहुत से अंक देंगे।
एको हम कौन है? प्रकृति थोड़ी कहती है। परब्रह्म, प्रकृति, पुरुष ये अलग अलग सिद्धांत है और अलग अलग तत्व है। हम क्या कर रहे हैं, शंकराचार्य का जो विचार है वो सांख्य में जोड़ रहे हैं। सही है। प्रॉब्लम हमारी क्या हो रही है कि हमारी सृष्टि तो एक है, सृष्टि की उत्पत्ति जब अलग अलग शास्त्रज्ञों के द्वारा शास्त्रों में बताई गई है, वो आखिरकार बनने वाली, अंतिमतः बनने वाली सृष्टि तो एक ही है, लेकिन हर शास्त्र में उसकी निर्मिति की जो प्रक्रिया दी है वो अलग अलग दी है। जब हम प्रकृति के बारे में सोचते हैं तब हम परब्रह्म के बारे में नहीं सोचेंगे, क्योंकि परब्रह्म की संकल्पना किसने बताई है? वेदांत ने बताई है। प्रकृति की संज्ञा किसने दी है? सांख्यों ने दी है। तो सांख्य भी क्या कहते हैं, जब प्रकृति है तब तक कुछ नहीं होता है, क्योंकि प्रकृति में हर एक गुण जो है वो साम्यावस्था में है। जब साम्यावस्था होती है तब वह कहीं की कोई भी निर्मिति नहीं हो सकती। जब वैषम्यावस्था आएगी तभी निर्मिति होगी, अन्यथा निर्मिति नहीं होगी।
So, as he said, Prakriti in its essential nature is in the Samyavastha.
Yes.
So there is no
So
creation.
essentially
At that
Prakriti
moment,
is Samyavastha.
yeah, at that moment there is no creation.
Right.
Then creation has come. So when the creation has come, why it has come? The question
Yes.
is how it has come.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the question.
Yes. So
How it has come, it can be explained. Why it has come, it cannot be explained.
No,
Because
why it is being is the Ekoham motion.
that is the concept which has come. What is
No.
what we are talking
When
about?
we are saying
Vedanta or something.
why we can't explain
Because-
according to you?
Because one is an aspect of prior to creation, a pre-creation, which
Okay.
is in the gunas are in the Samyavastha.
Yes.
Now the gunas have started manifesting. That is why the entire Panchamahabhutas have come and everything has come. The creation is come. So the Samyavastha has been disturbed. That is why the creation
So
is.
what is the
Now
instigation?
what made that creation to the gunas to get disturbed?
Yes.
What made it to disturb?
Yes.
Cannot be answered.
Why?
Because this is something which even Einstein said God alone knows. When we talk about the Big Bang, he said God alone knows that. Why? How it has happened can be explained from the effects. We can go back to the cause.
But then we have already explained that why this happens. Sankhya
At best,
Tattva, Sankhya Tattva Kaumudi explains us why this thing happens. There are many Purushas present all around Prakriti. Prakriti wants to have attention of one of the Purusha. And we have discussed this earlier that one Purusha looks at Prakriti with the corner of his eye. And once Prakriti sees that one Purusha has been attracted to her and is looking at her from the corner of the eye, that disturbs the equilibrium in Triguna. And when that equilibrium is disturbed, what forms? Nobody knows. We don't know what forms after the equilibrium is disturbed. So that form is given the name Avyakta. It is not manifested into anything. It is something. And that's why it is called as Avyakta. That Avyakta give rise to all the elements. Give rise to Srushti and not Prakriti. So, the universe is created not from Prakriti but from Avyakta.
According to
Sankhya. That is according to Sankhya. Because Sankhya gives us the creation of the universe through Prakriti and Purusha.
So in Sankhya, just clarification. So in Sankhya, the Avyakta is taken as in the Samyavastha. And
No.
then the Prakriti, the
No, no,
manifestation.
no.
Then why the distinction between
Prakriti
Avyakta
is Samyavastha. When that Samyavastha is disturbed, it is Avyakta.
Sir, Avyakta is unmanifest.
No.
Avyaktam is itself.
Avyakta.
Avyakta is unmanifested.
Yeah.
So it is not manifested what it is. So it has been given name Avyakta.
Right.
That which is not
But
manifest.
that manifests into the universe.
So then become Vyakta.
That becomes universe later.
Yeah. So that is the Avyakta has become Vyakta.
See, Avyakta is just the name. It is not into existence. ये scenario नहीं है वहाँ पे. Avyakta doesn't mean it is something which is not into existence. It is not existed. ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है. It is something which is undefined. It is not manifested.
So,
But later it goes on to manifest into the universe. So earlier form of the universe which is unmanifested, we don't know what it is, how it is going to be manifested. So it is called as Avyakta because it is not yet into Vyakta form.
if we are accepting that principle, then in the analogy of a clay is to pour, okay, the pour
What?
which you pour,
Pot.
Okay, clay into
Clay
pot.
to pot.
Ah.
so the pour which was unmanifested before or maybe after,
Okay.
so clay is always there,
Yes.
okay, so that is the unmanifested form of Avyakta.
No, it is not. See, but we know that it is clay, right? So it cannot be Avyakta. Vyakta is something which we are unable to find out about its nature. We don't know because it is not manifested into anything. That's why it is Avyakta. But we already know this is clay, then it cannot be said as unmanifested. It is not manifested as a pot yet, but it is already manifested as a clay. That is the understanding. It is something which we know that this is clay. This is made up of soil and water. That's why it is clay.
Or the ornament is to gold.
Pardon?
Or the gold
Yes,
is
yes.
to ornament.
So in one sense of the term, for ornament, the Karana Dravya is gold.
Yes.
But then for gold, the Karana Dravya is elements. 5 major elements. Within those 5 major elements, gold is considered of Tejas in nature, so Tej is more. But then that Tej itself is on Prithvi, and then there is a possibility of 25% of pure Tej, 25 plus 1/8 of the 100 of the circle becomes Prithvi, and then 1/8 of the circle, rest of the 3 Mahabhuta. Getting the point? Yes.
So when we talk about Prithvi, we are talking about the Parthiva element.
Huh?
We are talking about the Parthiva element as such. So we are talking about the hard material as such. So when
See,
we took the
when we
example
say
of mountain,
Prithvi,
yeah, we took the example of
when we
mountain.
say Prithvi, it is the area around us. It is the Srushti around us. Why?
Everything.
Why? I tell you that. As we were discussing about Tatra Gandhavati Prithvi. Tatra Gandhavati Prithvi, Sa Nitya Nitya Cha, Nitya Parmanu Rupa. So Karana Dravya is Parmanu Rupa. Anitya Karya Rupa. Why Karya Rupas are Anityas? Because they can be destroyed and converted into the original form, that is the Karana form. Karya Rupa, Anitya Karya Rupa. Punastrividha. Punastrividha. Because it is Prithvi, Prithvi is feminine. Punastrividha. फिर भी 3 प्रकार के हैं. शरीर, इंद्रिय, विषय भेदा. ये पार्थिवत्व जो है वो पुनरेक बार 3 भागों में विभाजित होता है. शरीर, इंद्रिय और विषय. शरीरम अस्मद आदिना. अस्मद मतलब हमारे जैसा. शरीर हमारे जैसे जो है वैसे शरीर जो है वो सब पार्थिव है।
Form meaning.
शरीर, that is the body. Body. शरीर is body form, you can say. जैसे अगर अस्मद का अर्थ क्या है? हम और हमारे जैसे सर्व शरीरधारी। अब ये शरीरधारी कौन है?
प्राणी, पक्षी,
सब लोग आ
सब,
गए।
all
Everybody.
sentient beings.
इंद्रियम गंधग्राहकम घ्राणम नासाग्रवर्ती। इंद्रिय कौन से है? जो पार्थिव इंद्रिय कहे जाएंगे तो वो है घ्राण। जो घ्राणेंद्रिय है, जो शरीर के नासा ये भाग में उपस्थित है, उसे हम पार्थिव इंद्रिय कहेंगे। नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज, we have nose, okay? The animals have nose, right? Even now in case of fish, do they have nose? No, but still they can sense that गंध की प्रक्रिया उनमें भी होती है। तो जिस किसी भी अवयव के द्वारा वहां पर गंध की अगर ज्ञान प्राप्ति होती है तो वो उस प्राणी का घ्राणेंद्रिय है। जैसे अमीबा है, वो एक पेशीय प्राणी है, उसे भी शरीर है, वो शरीर भी पार्थिव है क्योंकि उसे शरीर है। अब अमीबा ये एक पेशीय प्राणी किसी दूसरे प्राणी को खा जाता है तो उससे भी छोटा होगा, उसका भी तो पोषण होना है, तो उसे भी तो मालूम होता है होगा कहीं से कि हाँ ये प्राणी मैं ग्रहण कर सकता हूँ, इसे मैं खा सकता हूँ, तो उसे उस प्राणी की गंध आती होगी। तो जिस किसी भी तरीके से उसे उस गंध की प्राप्ति होती होगी, उसे उस गंध का ज्ञान होता होगा, वो उसका घ्राणेंद्रिय है। Are you getting it? So every time we need not have something like nose, what we have in the rest of the places where there is a sharira, where there is a body form. That body form may not look like us, but that body form is also parthiva in nature, because shariram asmad adina. Asmad adina. Adina, rest of the things, all etc. kind of scenario. विषयः मृत पाषाणादि। हमारे लिए विषय क्या है? मृत पाषाणादि। जो मिट्टी है, पत्थर है, पाषाण है, ये सब पार्थिव है। That is for sure. Okay? उसी प्रकार अगर हम जल इस द्रव्य का विचार करते हैं तो उसकी जो प्रक्रिया है उसमें इसी प्रकार से जानकारी दी गई है। जैसे कौन सी वाली होगी?
So one query, this avyakta, can we call it in process?
No, we can't. We have to call it avyakta only.
That is it is something in
Unmanifested.
Unmanifested.
But in process, no?
It is under process. But in process we can't say, right?
Also, as per Sankhya, is it right to say that everything is a combination of Prakriti and Purusha?
What do you mean by everything?
Everything that is, manifested.
No, we can't say that. Why we can't say that? Because one part of sattvic ahankar and rajasic ahankar give rise to mana and 11 indriyas, that is sukshma indriyas. They are formulated or they are formed before 5 major elements. 5 major elements give rise to body, and then body contains 11 indriyas. So 11 indriyas are formed before body, before 5 major elements. That's why इंद्रियां जो है वो 5 मेजर एलिमेंट्स को सेंस कर सकती है, लेकिन 5 मेजर एलिमेंट्स जो है वो इंद्रियों का सेंस नहीं कर सकता है। जैसे मन है, मन की निर्मिति ये 5 महाभूतों की निर्मिति से पहले होती है। ओके, तो पंच महाभूतों को जानने का कार्य मन के द्वारा हो सकता है, लेकिन मन को जानने का कार्य कोई भी शरीर नहीं कर सकता है। या फिर दूसरे हिसाब से देखेंगे, दूसरे प्रमाण से देखेंगे तो पंच महाभूतों का ज्ञान मन के द्वारा हो सकता है। अब मन भी तो एक द्रव्य है, पंचमहाभूत भी द्रव्य है। पंचमहाभूतों की निर्मिति कौन से द्रव्य से होती है? वो द्रव्य वही है जो अव्यक्त में है। अव्यक्त से ही मन की निर्मिति होती है, तो मन का द्रव्य कौन सा है ओरिजिनली? वो भी अव्यक्त का ही द्रव्य है। तो मन का जो द्रव्य है वो द्रव्य पंचमहाभूतों से पहले जन्म निर्माण हुआ है, क्योंकि वो एक स्टेज पहले निर्माण होता है, उसके बाद पंचमहाभूतों की निर्मिति होती है। राइट? सो पंचमहाभूतों की जो द्रव्यता है, 5 महाभूतों की जो द्रव्यता है, उससे मन की द्रव्यता अलग है। मन भी द्रव्य है, पंचमहाभूत भी द्रव्य है, और दोनों की निर्मिति कहां से हुई है? अव्यक्त से हुई है। तो अव्यक्त से मन बना है, अव्यक्त से पंचमहाभूत बने हैं। फिर भी एक स्टेज पहले मन बना है और एक स्टेज बाद में पंचमहाभूत बने हैं। पंचमहाभूतों का इंटरनल जो कॉम्बिनेशन होगा वो आगे चलकर शरीर को जन्म देगा, लेकिन उसी शरीर में मन और 10 इंद्रियां जो है वो अंतर्भूत हो जाएगी। तभी तो पूरा सेंद्रिय शरीर बनेगा। सेंद्रियत्व कब आ जाएगा? सेंद्रियत्व का मतलब क्या है? व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ द वर्ड सेंद्रियत्व? अलॉन्ग विद द सेंसेस। इंद्रिय, इंद्रियेण सह।
So one will come first or Indriya will come first?
They are at the same level. They will come together. They are formed together. Now the Indriyas will be Sukshma Indriya, Sukshma Jnanendriya and Sukshma Karmendriya. Why it is essential to have Sukshma Jnanendriya and Sukshma Karmendriya? Because those are required to go at the time of formation of the body and have those connectivity, have that connectivity up inside. It is possible to have that connectivity only when they are inside. You cannot create it from the outside. Because जैसे हम देखते हैं, इंद्रियों की जो दृष्टि है या इंद्रियों का जो पर्सपेक्टिव है, that is outwards. तो किसी की भी प्रवृत्ति आउटवर्ड्स कब हो सकती है? जब वो अंतस्थ रहेंगे तभी वो आउटवर्ड हो जाएगी। अगर वो बाह्य रहेंगे तो उसकी अंतर्दृष्टि हो जाएगी। लेकिन हमारे किसी भी इंद्रियों की दृष्टि अंतर्भूत नहीं है, अंतर्गत नहीं है, वो बहिर्गत है। हम आंख से बाहर की सृष्टि देख सकते हैं, अंदर की सृष्टि नहीं देख सकते। हम कान से बाहर की आवाज सुन सकते हैं, अंदर की आवाज नहीं सुन सकते। हम त्वचा से बाहर की किसी तत्व का स्पर्श कर सकते हैं, अंदर की किसी का स्पर्श नहीं कर सकते। तो हमारी पांचों इंद्रियां जो है वो बहिर्गमन है, उसका बहिर्गमन होता है, वो बहिर्गमनशील है। यस।
तो सर माता के गर्भ में जब संतान का निर्माण हो रहा होता है वो उसका स्थूल शरीर है, बराबर? माता के गर्भ में मदर्स होम जब बच्चे का जन्म हो रहा है,
हाँ,
बढ़ रहा है,
निर्मित हो रही है,
हाँ, वो उसका स्थूल शरीर है, स्थूल शरीर है,
स्थूल शरीर है,
ग्रॉस बॉडी, बराबर? तो फिर ये जो आप कहते हैं कि इंद्रियां सूक्ष्म है, उसका प्रवेश कब होता है?
जनरली ऐसे कहा गया है कि शुक्र शोणित संयोग के बाद जब शरीर की निर्मिति होना शुरू होता है, तब पहले महीने में प्रथम मासे कललम जायते। कललम नाम किम? कललम नाम अव्यक्त, वयम न जानीमः। वो क्या है उसके बारे में हम जानते नहीं, उसे कलल ये संज्ञा दी गई है। इस कललावस्था में जिस प्रकार जिसे हम कहते हैं किसी कांच के गोले से किसी सूर्य किरण की जैसे गति हो जाती है, उसी प्रकार उस कललावस्था में आत्मा, मन और इंद्रियां प्रवेशित होती है, ऐसा कहा गया है। The soul enters at that particular time along with the mind and senses. जैसे किसी प्रिज्म से कोई प्रकाश किरण जाता है, उसी प्रकार किसी गर्भ में या किसी भी कललावस्थीय गर्भ में आत्मा, इंद्रिया और मन प्रवेश करता है। जैसे हमने पिछले कक्षा में देखा था कि आत्मा मन के वेग से इंद्रियों के साथ गर्भ में प्रवेश करता है। उसकी जो विधि कही गई है वो इसी प्रकार कही गई है कि जैसे चंद्रकांत मणि में किरण, सूर्य किरण का प्रवेश हो जाता है, उसी प्रकार गर्भ में मन के वेग से इंद्रियों के साथ आत्मा का गमन होता है। तो इसी प्रकार अंदर जाने के बाद वो कललावस्था से बुद्बुदावस्था में आ जाता है द्वितीय मास में। बुद्बुद यानी झाग, फेन, इसे फेन कहते हैं। अब ये जान लेना बहुत जरूरी है कि जहां पर फेन है, जहां पर बुद्बुदावस्था है, ये अवस्था इस प्रकार से दी है। प्रथमम तो कलल एंड द्वितीयम तो बुद्बुदा। नाउ दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड वेरी फैसिनेटिंग। जब हमने वैशेषिक के आधार पर सृष्टि उत्पत्ति देखी थी, तब हमने क्या कहा था कि प्रथमम तो आकाशात वायु, वायोर तेजः, तेजेन विद्युतः, तेजेन जलः, जलात् पृथ्वी, ऐसा हमने कहा था। तो पहले किसकी निर्मिति कही गई है? आकाश की। तो आकाश का अर्थ क्या है? स्पेस। जब कललावस्था रहेगी तब बाहर से कोई अंदर प्रवेश करता है, तो वहां पर प्रवेश के बाद वहां पर ही रहता है। हाँ, सही है। जब मन के वेग से इंद्रियों के साथ आत्मा कललावस्था में होने वाले गर्भ में जब प्रवेश करेगा और वहां पर अंदर रह जाएगा, तो वहां पर एक स्पेस तैयार हुई, तभी तो वो अंदर रह पाया। सो जो स्पेस तैयार हुई, इसका अर्थ क्या है? आकाश तैयार हुआ वहां पे। पहले आकाश नहीं था, पहले सिर्फ कललावस्था थी। वहां पर कोई अंदर से बाहर से अंदर गया और वहां पर स्थित हुआ, तो वहां पर उसे कोई अपना आकाश मिल गया। तो यही बात हमने कही थी कि पहले सब जगह पर आत्म तत्व ही था। उस आत्म तत्व में से कुछ भाग का आवरण हुआ, खींच लिया गया, तो वहां पर आकाश निर्मित हुई। उसी प्रकार कललावस्था थी। कललावस्था में बाहर से कोई अंदर गया और अंदर रुक गया। इट स्टेड इनसाइड, दैट मीन्स इट गॉट इट्स ओन स्पेस इन इट। So he created space in it, right? तो पहले तो आकाश की निर्मित हुई, आकाश के बाद वायु हुआ। जब वायु हुआ तब यहां पर फेल हुआ, बुदबुद हुआ। That is how it is related, it is correlated. जब कहीं पर भी झाग निर्मित कब होती है? जब वहां पर वायु आती है। तो आकाश पहले निर्माण हुआ जब वो अंदर गए, और इमीडिएटली पहले क्या तैयार हुआ? वायु हुआ। सो वायु से आगे निर्मित शुरू होती है, क्योंकि वायु के लिए परमाणु है, आकाश के लिए परमाणु नहीं है। सो वो परमाणु कहां से प्राप्त हुए? ऐसा हमने कहा था, आत्म तत्व से ही प्राप्त हुए, क्योंकि आत्म तत्व तो द्रव्य है जिसके परमाणु होने चाहिए। उसी के द्वारा वायु बन गया। अब यहां पर क्या होता है? गर्भ में ऑटोमेटिकली आत्मा तत्व अंदर आने के बाद वायु निर्मित हो गई, तो एवरीथिंग स्टार्टेड। वायु तत्व के बारे में आयुर्वेद ने बहुत अच्छा स्पष्टीकरण दिया। वायुस्तंत्र यंत्रधर प्राणोदान समान व्यानापान प्रवर्तक चेष्टाना उच्चावचान प्रणेता इंद्रिया, वो इंद्रियों को प्रेरित करता है। और उसका एक वैशिष्ट्य दिया है, सर्व शरीर कराना। संपूर्ण शरीर की जो निर्मित है वो वायु से होती है। सर्व शरीर धातु व्यूह कराना, ये उसका वैशिष्ट्य है, ये उसके कार्य का एक वैशिष्ट्य कहा गया है। संधान कराणाम शरीरस्य, संधान का मतलब क्या है? जोड़ना। ये शरीर को एक दूसरे के साथ जोड़ता है। Now what is the meaning of that? Try and understand with ourselves. अगर हमें दिखाई देता है नजरों से या दृष्टि से यहां सांप है, सर्प है, तो सर्प है ये जानकारी होने के बाद बिना सोचे हम वहां से भाग जाएंगे। सो देयर इज अ कनेक्शन बिटवीन यू, विदिन यू, योर आईज, योर माइंड, योर आत्मा एंड योर फीट। लेकिन आत्मा के द्वारा चलो अब यहां से भाग निकलो, इस प्रकार से आज्ञा मिलने से पहले ही आप यहां से भाग निकलते हैं। सो देयर इज अ कनेक्शन विदिन योर बॉडी विच यू आर अनअवेयर ऑफ, जिसे हम इनवॉलंटरी कहते हैं, जो हमारी इनवॉलंटरी एक्टिविटी है। कोई वॉलंटरी होता है, जैसे हमें अगर मालूम नहीं है कि कोई जो बर्तन है वो गर्म है, तो हम जाके हाथ लगाते हैं। हाथ लगाने के बाद जब उष्ण स्पर्श होता है तब हम हाथ निकालते हैं।
रिफ्लेक्शन।
सो रिफ्लेक्शन होता है, लेकिन उसके लिए हमें ये गर्म है, यहाँ से हाथ निकाल दो, इस प्रकार की संवेदना होती है। लेकिन कई बार जैसे कोई मारने के लिए ऐसा हाथ भी करता है तो हम अपना हाथ बिना सोचे हाथ ऊपर कर लेते हैं टू डिफेंड आवर। वो किसी ने हमको कहा नहीं अरे भैया अभी हाथ उठाओ, वो बिना सोचे अपना काम कर जाता है। So that kind of connections we have in our body is being formed by that वायु itself. तो ये जो वायु तत्व है, इसका जैसे सृष्टि उत्पत्ति में बहुत महत्वपूर्ण स्थान है, वैसे ही महत्वपूर्ण स्थान शरीर उत्पत्ति में भी है, और वो यहाँ पर दिखता है। यहाँ पर भी वो दिख रहा है। सो जैसा हमने पहले कहा था कि सृष्टि उत्पत्ति तो पहले ही हो चुकी है। We are part and parcel of this सृष्टि, but सृष्टि has been created long back. So how we are supposed to know how सृष्टि is formed? We have to look at ourselves, how we are formed. Once we understand how we are formed, it's easier for us to understand or easier for us to think how this universe must have formed. So this is how we are essentially try to understand how the universe is created, how the tattvas play part in it, how to understand the tattvas which are part and parcel of this creation and the universe itself. So this is something which is very astonishing for us to understand with the help of allied sciences. Now Ayurveda is considered to be allied science. Ayurveda itself is a philosophy, but that philosophy is not philosophy like Samkhya philosophy or Vedanta philosophy or Vaisheshik philosophy. That philosophy is very much restricted to the medical factor, medical science. So the philosophy also restricts itself with to explain the medical perspective of it. It is not like Vaisheshik, which deals with the whole universe factor. It limits itself with the universe related to the medical field. But still, it is philosophy in its own way. But it is not discussed the way rest of the philosophies have been discussed, like Samkhya has been discussed, like Vedanta has been discussed. Ayurveda never been discussed in that way. But if we understand the concept provided by Ayurveda itself, it becomes easier for us to understand the other factors. Ayurveda being allied subject, main subject can be the Tattva Vimarsha in the form of some philosophy, but we make use of Ayurvedic understanding while understanding the main thing related to Tattvas. How Tattvas are applied in the formation of the universe. That is important. Yes.
So sir, in this Kalala Avastha, you said that Atma, Mana and Indriya, when they enter, then
Yes.
it starts.
Because Kalala Avastha is said to be the Avastha in the first
Yes.
month of the pregnancy.
Right.
That is
So this Atma, can we equate that same thing as per Sankhya, that the Purusha is also
Purusha
entering
doesn't
that
enter.
time? Then
So there is a difference between the Sankhya understanding and Ayurvedic understanding.
so as per Sankhya,
Ayurvedic understanding doesn't deal with the universe creation and everything. It deals with the formation of the fetus.
no. So as per Sankhya, when does the Purusha is part of the Sharira?
No.
Right? Is
It
present.
plays no part in creation.
No, but it's present in the
It
Sharira.
is not
right?
present.
It's not present.
It instigates, it stays out. But while looking at Prakriti converting itself into universe, it attached with the universe in such a way that it thinks, that Purusha thinks that he is part and parcel of that process. But originally he is not. He feels that he is associated with that creation. But in fact he is not. And that is the idea of liberation in Sankhya.
No, But the Purusha is the conscious principle, right?
It's a conscious principle.
It's
Yes.
a conscious principle.
Yes.
So there is a conscious principle in each body.
Yes.
So the Purusha is present.
No, it
Then
is
what-
different and that is different.
Oh.
That is the idea of, rather that is the greatness of Sankhya. Now the question remains, that question I asked to my son when I was taught about this concept.
Hmm.
Okay.
Because
If
as per my
Purusha-
understanding, what
right,
you're not
your question is absolutely right.
Hmm.
I feel, I'm not saying I'm the authority,
Hmm.
but I feel that when Purusha is attached with the Prakriti, with the sideways glance, that glance is the instigation point of imbalance in the Triguna.
Yes.
So that glance gives something to Prakriti which causes the imbalance. That which is given through that glance by that Purusha to Prakriti, that is nothing but the Chaitanya we have in our body. That Chaitanya we call as Atma. That is the only possibility. Now, how that Chaitanya is transferred through glance of the sideways, or rather sideways glance of the Purusha into Prakriti, I am yet to think of.
So that comes that.
Now I have a probability. Since the knowledge of Ayurveda tells us that Netra is a Taijasa Indriya. Why Netra is a Taijasa Indriya? Because Netra is able to grasp the Rupa. Netra is able to grasp the Rupa.
Yes.
And Rupa is the Vishesha Guna of Teja.
Teja.
So that sideways glance gives that Teja, to Prakriti, which after the formation of the body remains inside the body in the form of Jyoti. It is called in Upanishad as the Jyoti or Angushta Matra Purusha. So that sideways glance is also part and parcel of the Purusha, or Purusha only instigate that particular Angushta Matra Purusha which stays within the Prakriti and then further carried out in the form of soul in the body. So in one sense of the term, it is also instigated or created by that glance of the Purusha, and that's why it is a part of the Purusha which wants to be liberated and get associated with the Vaishvik Purusha which has caused, or rather who has caused the formation or the creation of the universe. This is my understanding. I am not saying this is the right way, but it is logical. It seems logical. जैसे तेजस अवयव के द्वारा तेज का देना पॉसिबल है. This is my understanding. I am not saying this is the right way.
So in that case, can we arrive at the conclusion that Purush is to Prakriti in Sankhya, is the Atma is to body in the body formation?
No. For Atma Tattva, as we say, or as we can see, that there is no Atma Tattva in Sankhya philosophy. But Avyakta, which give rise to every other aspect, is nothing but Atma. Avyakta is what? Avyakta is the Prakriti where Trigunas are imbalanced. And that has given rise to rest of the things. Similarly, in Vaisheshika, what it says? There is a Paramatma, there is a Atma. Paramatma give rise to Panchamahabhutas and Mana and Indriya. So that particular Paramatma is nothing but Avyakta, which is giving rise to all these concepts. Atma Tattva only give rise to Akasha, Vayu, Teja, Jala and Prithvi. Similarly, Avyakta give rise to Akasha, Vayu, Teja, Jala, Prithvi. Got it? So, as Vaisheshik Darshan has got Atma Tattva, Sankhyas have got Avyakta Tattva, which is nothing but Atma. So that's why in Charaka Samhita of Ayurveda, Charaka says that Avyakta is nothing but Atma. Because for Charaka, he already knows the existence of Vaisheshik Darshan, he already knows the existence of Sankhya Darshan, he already knows how the universe is created according to them, and he already knows how Ayurveda thinks about the universe. So according to him, Atma and Avyakta are the same principle with the different name, and which looks really logical. Because Atma give rise to 5 major elements and other dravyas. Here also Avyakta give rise to 5 major elements and other dravyas like Indriyas and Mana. The same thing. So that is the very much important concept which is given by Vaisheshik as Atma and Sankhya's as Avyakta. So Avyakta and Atma, nothing but same thing. Okay? So next lecture we will start with Vedic understanding of the suttas by which we started, and then we will proceed further. Okay? Thank you very much. Dhanyavada.
Because this is not saying this thing shockingly, you're saying something that Atma and Avyakta are the same.
Recording stopped.
Avyakta are the same.
That also is not.
ये भी स्टॉप करना, मैं वो स्टॉप कर दूँ ना।